Welcome back to the Business Book Club. Today we are diving deep into The Diary of a CEO. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's by Steven Bartlett. Right. A collection of his 33 laws for success.
That's the one. And let me tell you, it's not your typical business book. All those buzzwords and fluff.
Yeah.
Not here. Bartlett really gets down to brass tacks.
Yeah, he really pushes you to think differently
Yeah.
about everything from personal growth to building a team that really performs well.
Okay, so let's jump right in. One of the first things that really stood out was this idea of filling your 5 buckets in the right order. He's talking about knowledge, skills, network, resources, and reputation.
Yeah.
What's interesting is he doesn't say go out and network first or chase clout. He says focus on knowledge and skills first. What do you think of that?
It's all about having a foundation you can rely on. Resources can vanish, your network can change, even your reputation can take a hit.
Oh, for sure.
But the knowledge and skills you build, those stay with you.
He's got this idea of creating an obligation to teach. It's supposed to be a powerful way to really master something. It reminded me of when I first started this podcast, I was terrified to put myself out there,
Right.
but I had made this public commitment. So it forced me to learn, to research, to really grasp the topics we were covering. It was game changer, really.
Bartlett actually did something similar. At 21, he decided to post an idea online every single day.
Wow.
Yeah, it forced him to learn deeply and to break down complex topics.
Yeah.
It's like that famous Feynman technique.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
If you can't explain it simply, you don't really get it.
That's so true.
Yeah.
And that actually leads perfectly into his next law. You must never disagree. Now, before you think he's saying just agree with everything, he's not. What he's really getting at is how important it is to find common ground before you start arguing against someone.
Right. When you make someone feel like you're attacking their ideas, their brain kind of shuts down. It's like they go on defense.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you can validate their perspective first, find some things you agree on, then you can lower their defenses.
It's like mastering the art of listening, really understanding where someone's coming from and responding in a way that makes them feel heard. Only then can you actually have a conversation that goes somewhere.
Absolutely. He goes pretty deep when he tackles the topic of beliefs. He actually says, you do not get to choose what you believe.
This one, I'll be honest, it threw me off at first. But then he had this thought experiment. Imagine you have to make yourself believe a terrorist is Jesus to save someone you love. Could you really change what you believe just like that?
It's a powerful image, right?
It is. It really got me thinking.
It shows how our beliefs are actually based on evidence, even if we don't realize it.
Right.
Our experiences, the people we see as authorities, even our desire to hear good news, it all shapes what we believe.
The book talks about how powerful firsthand evidence can be. It can change even beliefs you've held for a long time, especially if that evidence lines up with what you want to be true. But let's be real. We all struggle with bad habits. How do we get rid of those? Bartlett's got this radical idea. Never fight a bad habit. Wait, what?
He's saying willpower is like a limited resource. If you fight bad habits head on, you'll just burn yourself out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Instead, he says you need to work with how your habit actually works. Figure out what triggers it, the routine, and the reward that keeps it going. Then you swap out the bad routine for a good one.
He talked about his dad switching from cigarettes to lollipops.
Right.
It was brilliant. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about rewiring your habits. And in a world where it feels everyone's always on the go, he reminds us to always prioritize your first foundation.
He means our health. It's the base everything else is built on.
Yeah.
If you ignore it, everything else suffers.
It's true. It's so easy to get caught up in the hustle and forget that without our health, nothing else really matters. The pandemic really drove that point home for me. It was a wake-up call about how fragile life really is.
Yeah, it makes you think.
Speaking of attention, let's move into what Bartlett says about storytelling and branding. He has this provocative law. Useless absurdity will define you more than useful practicalities. What do you think he means by that?
I think it's about being different, being memorable. He uses this example of his company putting in a giant blue slide in their office.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Oh,
Totally impractical.
right. But it made a statement.
Totally. It was like, this is who we are, this is our culture.
Exactly. It created buzz, got people talking.
Think about Tesla. The ludicrous driving modes, the crazy marketing stunts. These things that seem useless actually make their brand stand out.
They're saying we don't take ourselves too seriously, we like to have fun.
And that leads right into his next point. Avoiding wallpaper at all costs. Our brains are wired to tune out the boring, repetitive stuff.
He talks about semantic satiation, where you repeat a word so much it loses all meaning.
Oh, hate when that happens.
It happens with marketing messages, too. If you want to break through the noise, you have to keep things fresh, unexpected.
Bartlett said he revamped the call to action on his YouTube channel.
What?
430% increase in subscriptions.
Wow.
It's a wake-up call for sure. And then he throws this curveball. You must piss people off.
Oh.
Okay, we got to be careful with this one.
Yeah.
He's not saying be a jerk.
Mm.
He's saying blandness is what kills attention. Strong opinions, even if they ruffle some feathers, make a brand stand out.
It's about knowing your audience, taking a stand, and not being afraid to be a little polarizing.
That's like that saying, there's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
As long as people are talking about you, you're doing something right.
Let's zero in on this idea of psychological moonshots. He calls them small investments that pay off big time in how people see you.
Okay.
He gives this example of his barber's one last snip routine. It doesn't really do anything, but it makes you feel like you're getting extra care, right?
It's brilliant, playing on our psychology.
Think about those Uber progress bars. They make waiting more bearable, even if it doesn't actually speed things up.
Or how some companies make things a little harder on purpose just so the reward feels more earned.
It's all about perception.
Exactly.
And that ties into his next law, which might seem counterintuitive. Friction can create value.
Mm-hmm.
He uses Red Bull's bitter taste as an example.
Yeah.
That bitterness actually makes people think it's more potent, gives you more energy.
It's all about those psychological tricks. The peak end rule, idleness aversion, the goal gradient effect. They show how even making things a little inconvenient can make a product seem more valuable.
So sometimes making things harder actually makes them more desirable. That's fascinating. And then he talks about how the frame matters more than the picture. He's saying the context shapes how we see value.
Right.
He uses this example of adding a Rome without coffee option to a travel survey. And get this, it actually made the all-inclusive Rome trip seem more valuable. It's crazy how you present things really matters.
You can have the best product in the world, but if you don't frame it right, it won't connect.
It's not just about the product, it's about the whole experience. The message, the packaging, the story, it all adds up to how much people value it. All right, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something I really care about. The mindset you need for long-term success.
Okay.
Bartlett kicks it off by highlighting something people often miss. You must sweat the small stuff. This one really resonated with me. He talks about how his podcast became successful, not from some big strategy, but because he focused on getting hundreds of little things, right? It's about always striving to improve, paying attention to detail.
It's not about being perfect. It's about that constant effort to be better.
Exactly. And that brings us to the Kaizen philosophy. It's a Japanese approach to constant improvement. It's all about small, incremental changes that build up over time.
Right.
He shares this amazing story about how Toyota, using this philosophy, turned around a failing General Motors factory in just 2 years. Yeah, same workforce, same equipment. The key was that they were totally focused on getting rid of waste, empowering employees, and building a culture that values improvement. It's amazing what you can accomplish with those consistent, small improvements.
Absolutely. It's like compound interest.
And that brings us to another important principle. A small miss now creates a big miss later.
Oh.
He uses the 1 in 60 rule from aviation as an analogy.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So a 1-degree error can throw a plane miles off course.
Wow.
The message is that constantly making little corrections is crucial, whether it's in our personal lives, our businesses, or even our relationships. So how do we make sure we're staying on track?
Well, Bartlett suggests setting up what he calls Kaizen-style rituals, regular check-ins where you look at your progress and make adjustments.
It's about being proactive, right? Not waiting until things fall apart before you take action.
Exactly.
Right, ready for this one? This next law is a bit controversial. You must outfail the competition. What do you think he's getting at here?
I think he's saying that failing more often can actually be a good thing.
Go on.
If you fail more, you learn more, you iterate faster, and in the end, you're more likely to succeed.
He uses Booking.com as an example. They run tons of experiments all the time. They got this culture of constant testing and learning. They're not afraid to fail because they know it brings them closer to success.
It's having that growth mindset, seeing failure as data, not a setback.
Right, buckle up for this one.
Yeah.
It's a real mind bender. You must become a Plan A thinker. What does that even mean?
I think he's talking about having unwavering commitment to your vision.
Okay.
He tells this incredible story of Nando Parado. This guy survived a plane crash in the Andes and endured 72 days with no backup plan, just pure determination to live.
Wow.
It's about going all in, believing in your vision so strongly that you don't even consider failure.
He knows that practical stuff is important, but he asks us to think about how having a plan B might actually weaken our dedication to plan A. It's like burning your ships, no turning back.
It's a powerful image.
It is. But what about when things get really tough, when you just want to bury your head in the sand? Bartlett gives us this warning. Don't be an ostrich.
Okay.
He argues that dodging uncomfortable truths only makes things worse in the long run.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's in business or your personal life, facing problems head-on is the only way to make those needed course corrections. He brings up the Titanic as an example, a tragedy where ignoring warning signs led to disaster. And he talks about the ostrich effect, that bias that makes us avoid information we don't want to hear. So how do we beat this tendency?
He recommends a structured approach. Pause, admit there's an issue, check in with your feelings, speak your truth, and actively seek out the truth by listening to others. It's about being proactive, not reactive.
It's about confronting those hard truths instead of letting them grow.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, but I think it's essential for growth.
Absolutely. Then he challenges us to rethink how we see pressure. You must make pressure your privilege.
He says that if you see stress as a bad thing, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But if you embrace pressure as a sign of growth, it can actually make you perform better. He even cites studies that show a stress-enhancing mindset leads to better physical responses and improved results. So it's not about avoiding pressure, it's about changing how we see it.
Yeah, instead of seeing it as a threat, see it as a challenge that helps you grow and be your best.
Now, in a world that often tells us to be relentlessly optimistic, Bartlett throws us a curveball. The power of negative manifestation. Isn't that like inviting bad luck?
Not exactly. He's advocating for a technique called the pre-mortem method.
Right.
You basically imagine your project has already failed, then you work backwards to figure out where things could go wrong.
That's like playing devil's advocate with yourself.
Right. You challenge your assumptions and spot potential problems ahead of time.
So you can plan better and avoid blind spots. Now, with all this hustle culture going around, Bartlett gives us a really interesting perspective. Your skills are worthless, but your context is valuable. He talks about how he went from a successful marketing career to the world of psychedelics. He found that the same skills applied in a different context could be worth way more.
It's a good reminder that it's not just what you know, but where and how you use it.
And lastly, in a time when everyone's obsessed with productivity hacks, Bartlett takes us back to the basics. The discipline equation. Death, time, and discipline. He looks at life as a game of chance, where every hour is a valuable chip you have to spend wisely. He emphasizes that discipline isn't about forcing yourself. It's about developing a mindset where you consistently choose your goals, you enjoy the process.
It's about making your actions line up with your goals, even when it's hard or not very glamorous.
Exactly. So we left off talking about, building the right mindset. But now let's get into the nitty-gritty of building a team, a high-performing one. Bartlett starts with this idea that's kind of unexpected. Ask who, not how. What do you think of that?
It's interesting, right? Instead of getting caught up in the how-to of everything, you focus on finding the right people for the job. The people who can figure out the how.
It's about delegating, recognizing that you can't be an expert at everything.
Exactly. And you build a team that covers your weaknesses.
He mentions Richard Branson, who built a massive empire, even though he says he's not great with numbers. His strength was finding people who excelled where he didn't. It's funny because we often hear about the lone wolf entrepreneur, but Bartlett actually challenges us to create a cult mentality. Now, before you think he's talking about something weird, he's not.
No, not at all. He's talking about building a company culture where everyone is aligned on the mission, where people feel like they belong, like they're valued, and they're willing to go above and beyond.
Like those legendary companies, Google or Apple, they've got such strong cultures.
Right. There's this sense of belonging, a shared purpose that drives people to do amazing things.
Then he brings up this simple but powerful framework, the 3 bars for building great teams. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. It all boils down to asking one question about each team member. If everyone on the team acted like them, would the bar be raised, stay the same, or be lowered? It's a quick way to see if someone is making the team better or holding it back.
So you find those people who raise the bar and promote them, and deal with the ones who lower the bar.
Right, because they can really bring the team down.
Makes sense. Bartlett then dives into what motivates people. He talks about leveraging the power of progress.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
He says even little wins can create this snowball effect of motivation, makes you want to keep going. It reminded me of that story about the British cycling team and their marginal gains philosophy.
What's that?
They focused on making tiny improvements in every single area of their training. And it led to crazy success.
So it's about recognizing that progress, even in small steps, is super motivating.
It creates momentum, you get more confident, and you want to push even further.
Absolutely. And then finally, in a world that's always searching for the one right way to lead, Bartlett says to be an inconsistent leader. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's fascinating. He uses Sir Alex Ferguson as an example.
Yeah.
The legendary Manchester United manager Ferguson was known for changing his leadership style based on the player he was dealing with.
So instead of treating everyone the same, you adjust your approach based on what motivates each person.
Exactly. It's about understanding your team members and responding to them in a way that brings out their best. Sounds like a recipe for success to me. All right, so that was Steven Bartlett's The Diary of a CEO. A lot to unpack, right? I feel like we could talk about each of these laws for hours.
Yeah, there's so much in there. What really stood out to me was how Bartlett focuses on both the inner stuff and the outer stuff. He doesn't just talk about strategies and tactics. He goes deep into the mindset, the beliefs, the self-awareness you need to be an entrepreneur.
It's not just about hitting those big goals. It's about who you become along the way. What are some of the biggest takeaways you think our listeners should remember?
I think the most important one is mastering yourself. Building that solid foundation of knowledge and skills, understanding your habits, your beliefs, taking care of your health, those are the things that set you up for real, lasting success.
And don't forget about telling your story. In a world that's so loud and competitive, you got to stand out. Find your voice, even if it means ruffling some feathers.
And building a great team isn't about finding people just like you. It's about surrounding yourself with people who have different strengths, who push you to grow, and who believe in what you're doing.
Creating a culture where everyone feels valued, connected to the mission, and ready to do their best work. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a challenge. Remember Bartlett's law about useless absurdity. Think about your brand, your business. What's that one useless absurdity that sums up what you're all about?
It's a good question to think about. How can you add something unexpected, a bit of humor, or a bold statement that makes people pay attention? It's about being memorable, different, and making people curious.
And if you're hungry for more thought-provoking ideas like this, make sure you subscribe to the Business Book Club. We've got some amazing books and deep dives lined up for you. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing those boundaries. Now that's a wrap for this episode of the Business Book Club. If you enjoyed the ride, make sure to subscribe so you'll never miss our next deep dive. By the way, if you're looking for a detailed breakdown of this book, head over to my other channel, The Weekend Book Club. There, you'll find a book summary video that dives even deeper into the key concepts, plus a free book summary to download. The link is in the show notes below. Don't miss out. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and we'll see you in the next episode.